Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our KeyBank Global Leaders Forum. It's wonderful to see such a great crowd today. And for those that I haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Angie Jones. I'm director of the University of Toledo Family Business Center. And our team has the pleasure of partnering with both YPO and KeyBank to bring you this event this evening. So tonight is about sparking great conversation, real thoughtful dialogue about the big ideas that are shaping our world. And part of that means being open to new perspectives. So you may not agree with everything that you hear tonight, and that's okay. What matters is that we listen with curiosity, we engage respectfully, and we leave here thinking a little deeper about things than when we walked in. So we're especially excited about tonight's speaker, Dr. Frank Luntz, but more on that in a minute. First, I want to give a big thank you to our partners who made this possible. The YPO Maumee Valley chapter, which is the Young Presidents Organization, and KeyBank. So KeyBank has generously established a fund to bring in speakers and events to our community that are truly one of a kind. So, and if you're familiar with this event in the past, you know that we've had some incredible speakers like Tony Simmons from Tabasco, Brendan Hunt, or as you may know him, Coach Beard from Ted Lasso, and tonight is no exception. So before we get there, I want to introduce two people who have been instrumental in making tonight happen. First, Rob Bliley. He's the owner of American Timber and Steel, longtime Family Business Center member, and he also serves as the education chair for YPO Maumee Valley. So I'd like to invite Rob up for a moment to say a few words.
Thanks, Angie. As Angie mentioned, my name is Rob Bliley, and I'm the learning officer for Maumee Valley chapter of YPO based here in Toledo. But our membership extends throughout all Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. While I'm also a member of the center, I'm happy to be here representing YPO and excited to partner with KeyBank and the UT Center for Family Business on another marquee event. For those who don't know, YPO is a global leadership community of presidents and CEOs. YPO has over 30,000 members in 140 countries, all of whom lead organizations that meet a specific size and revenue requirements that vary based on the industry. Through this network, members connect with fellow CEOs and learn to grow and support one another both personally and professionally. YPO offers a global network of educational opportunities, forums, and events, and YPO focuses on peer-to-peer learning, offering a safe environment where leaders can exchange experiences and best practices across diverse industries and regions. YPO has been a significant benefit to me and my business. And if you're working on those succession plans, maybe consider YPO as a resource for your next president and CEO. If anyone's interested in learning more about YPO, please see Angie or myself, and she can provide you with my contact information. And thanks again for participating in tonight's event. Should be a great time. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. And next, can you please welcome Dan Dower, president of KeyBank, who's going to say a few words and then introduce our moderator for the evening.
Angie, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to many of you who have been with us at this event in the past. As Angie mentioned, Key was fortunate to endow a fund at the University of Toledo many years ago that's allowed us to hold an event like this tonight. And really the purpose of tonight and of the fund that we established is to bring thought-provoking people and leaders and conversations into Toledo. And we're really excited to fulfill that moniker again tonight. As an alum of the Graduate College of Business at Toledo and as a current YPO member, it's really meaningful personally to see the collaboration of these three organizations to help make tonight happen. As some of you noticed on my key earlier this evening, at KeyBank, we are proudly celebrating our bicentennial anniversary this year. So 200 years in business as a company. In fact, that just happened April 12th was our 200-year mark a few days ago. So thank you. To our knowledge, there's less than 50 companies in the United States that have been in existence for 50 years. So that's something we're extremely proud of. And personally, it's a tremendous honor. It's very humbling for me to be able to represent the hundreds of bankers that we have across Northwest Ohio who do really great work in our community and they're dedicated to the communities that we live in and serve and to the people and businesses who comprise them. So in a few minutes, I'll introduce the moderator who's going to bring up our keynote, Dr. Frank Luntz. Really engaging guy. I'm excited that he's here. I've seen him on TV more times than I can count, maybe not as many times as a few of our guests have mentioned. Some big fans on the front left here, Mr. Dar. In planning for this event, I also stumbled upon his YouTube channel, so he has 14,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. But in particular, in February, I saw Dr. Luntz on the CNN Newsnight show. So that's a roundtable discussion held in the evenings, hosted by Abby Phillips, if you haven't seen it. And on this night, a few weeks ago, he's shaking his head. So he was really taking some body blows, metaphorically, by some of the other guests. And my perspective of what was going on is some of these guests intentionally were there to be loud and be confrontational and be argumentative, which is all too often what we see in media these days. And I was just extremely impressed at Frank and how calm he was, how poised he was, how he could communicate effectively and clearly and calmly, even in the face of a clearly hostile environment like that. And so I was really impressed. I'm sure we can all learn something from him today. And lastly, as it relates to Frank, on behalf of KeyBank, we want to thank you for your current work, which is teaching at West Point. And so helping shape the minds and the lives of the young men and women who are serving our country is extremely important work. It's extremely admirable, and we thank you for that, Frank. And now it's my pleasure to welcome our moderator, Kristi K. Hoffman, a name and a face very familiar to all of us in Northwest Ohio and even beyond. So Kristi is an Emmy-nominated television host. She is a respected journalist. She's the creator of Business Life 360 on our local PBS station, where she brings in industry leaders and executives and sees businesses. As the founder of Kristi K Media and Total Package Global, she's developed a reputation for really asking insightful questions and bringing in insight and laughter and knowledge to the audience. So whether she's on camera or she's on stage or she's behind the scenes, she always brings a ton of value. We're glad she's here. As an alum of University of Toledo, she's also a champion for women's leadership in our community. She's a best-selling author. I know for a fact she's a great mother and a caring wife, because my predecessor trained me well. She's also a personal friend and supporter of the Dower family, a longtime supporter and advocate for KeyBank. Please welcome Kristi K. Hoffman.
Dan, thank you so much for that. I hope I can live up to that. So good evening, everyone. It's so great to be here with all of you today and see your smiling faces. As someone who has spent my life and my career really asking a lot of questions, talking a lot about business and lifestyle stories, and exploring how words shape the way we live and we lead, I can't think of a more wonderful and important guest than we have here this evening. Dr. Frank Luntz is one of the most respected and recognizable voices in America and in the political strategy and public opinion research space. He's a communication expert, a pollster, and best-selling author who has advised presidents, prime ministers, Fortune 100 CEOs, and even TV networks on how to communicate and connect with audiences through language that resonates. Over the last 3 decades, Frank has conducted over 2,500 focus groups and dial sessions, we're going to learn more about those, in 26 countries. He's pioneering methods that changed how we understand what people think and why they think it. He's that man that is behind some of the most memorable political messaging of our time, and his work has shaped campaigns, boardrooms, and broadcast media alike. He's appeared on every major U.S. network and has been a guest on shows ranging from Meet the Press to The Daily Show and now to Business Life 360. Woo-woo! Love that. His best-selling books, including Words That Work and Win, the Key Principles to Take Your Business from Ordinary to Extraordinary, highlight his core belief. And it's not what you say, but it's what people hear. He's made a lot of money, I'm told, on that expression. So Frank currently teaches at NYU Abu Dhabi and at West Point, sharing his expertise with the next generation of leaders. And with that, let's give a wonderful, warm round of applause. Join me in welcoming tonight's guest, Dr. Frank Luntz. Woo!
I make this offer to you only once, which is the second row, the edge seats on the third row and the fourth row, even the front row. There are open seats. So if you don't want to sit all the way back and have to look through people, and if you can't hear us, I suggest you guys, and whoever they are, these two people right here, you're great Americans. Thank you very much. And for those who are still sitting in the back of the room, to hell with you.
Oh. I love it. Well, we'll wait a couple seconds here while everybody moves on up. Thank you.
We really do have seats in the front row, second row there, and the front 3-4 rows here.
Is there a door prize for the ones who moved up first?
Yes, you get $1,000 cash.
Well, Frank, here we are. Welcome, welcome. Wonderful to have you here. And I do have to say, we did a taping prior to this, and Frank was in the middle of our taping. The camera was rolling, and Kevin McCarthy called. I was like, hey, you go ahead and take the call. It's okay. We can wait. And I'm thinking, not only did Kevin call, but you had multiple other calls. You are always in demand. We are so happy you're here. We can't wait to hear your voice tonight and hear some of the wonderful words that you have to tell us.
Well, I want you to know that not only do we teach at West Point, I'm paid to be here. As I'm sure you realize, every dollar of that check goes to the West Point cadets. I want you to know that.
Let's hear it. That's awesome. That's amazing.
So actually, KeyBank, you're donating to the next generation of leaders. Those of you, who's YPO here? Raise your hands. For all of you here at YPO, your money is going to the cadets as well. I don't know of a better institution that's more essential to the proper dialogue within the business community than YPO, because you made it on your own. And you share with each other and you lift each other up. I understand the organization quite well. You never let me in, so to hell with you. But what you represent and what you do is brilliant, and so I'm thankful to be here for you all.
That's awesome. Thank you. So here we are, and we're really looking forward to tonight. A couple of things in terms of a game plan for the evening, and I think Angie really talked about that as well. Really being respectful of each other's opinions, differing opinions they may be, and also just really having respect for each other. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, which is, it annoys the moderator, but I'm going to take some of her questions, but I'm going to give you the chance to YPO, you can't stay quiet. I'm used to this. So I want to give you the chance to ask questions directly, not by writing it down and not by someone else voicing it for you. So we're going to turn it over to you in a bit. We have a lot of issues we want to cover, but think of what you want to know. And I'm going to assume that we're off the record. I'm going to assume that even though there are more than 100 people here, you all can keep a secret. So whatever you want to know, I'm going to answer for you.
So Frank, I read your incredible bio earlier, and I want to know, in your own words, much more succinctly than I read, what do you do for a living?
So my mom still thinks I'm an upholsterer. And when she found out what I actually did, she says, that's not appropriate. You can't ask people those questions. I'm a language guy. I'm a word guy. So my job is to figure out what words, what phrases, what visuals have the best impact, whether it's sports or finance or travel or tourism or politics, how to communicate to make people understood and appreciated.
Such an interesting sector. Why words?
Because I was really shy as a kid. Because I'm sure no one believes me. If you saw me upstairs, you saw that I don't venture into the room. It's still difficult for me. I've been doing this now for 40 years. And it's hard because I don't want to interrupt people. I became focused on language because I needed to speak. And I needed to listen and I needed to learn. And the only way to do so is to learn how to ask people questions. So I try to understand what makes people tick, from what they wear to the first question they ask to how they look at you or they don't look at you. I'm listening to your introduction here, and I'm thinking, what does it actually mean? And by appreciating language, people would talk to me. And when they talked to me, they taught me. And when they taught me, I could teach others. So I'm grateful that I found this profession. I didn't know anyone, I still don't know anyone who does this. I still know that people think, what the hell are you asking that question for? My very first poll was asking Oxford and Cambridge students who had more sex. It was written about in the New York Times, and my mother, this is a true story, my mother called me up and said, if you ever do that again, I'm disowning you. It is none of your business. My dad said to me, who won and were you on the right side?
So did you ever do it again, though? Did you honor your mother?
I always honored my mother.
Okay, fair enough. We'll leave it at that.
I've asked people, so I look, when I'm doing these questions, I look at what the reaction is. And to me, if someone breaks down in front of me, I want to understand why. I need to empathize. And so I've asked some very tough questions of people, why you're upset. I just did this with a congressman from Ohio. I will not tell you who it is, but he's from Ohio. And he was involved in the original efforts for DEI. And he got really upset, and I saw it. I could see the reaction. And to him, it's such a necessary program that had been so horribly administered, that the objective of everyone having that opportunity, everyone being able to share in the American dream, is essential. And if people get left out, what can we do to help them? But that's not an excuse to discriminate. That's not an excuse to punish people because of their gender, because of their race, because of anything. And he's clearly troubled by what's going on. And I need to understand that. So over 35 years, I've asked questions that have broken people up. But in their answers, and I mean this, we have a responsibility as parents, as citizens, as community members, to teach. You all have skills. I don't care what it is. You have something that's special that you know better than other people. And the more that we learn about what's missing, the more that we can add to it and address it in a reasonable way so that the next generation has it so much better than us. I am afraid of the next generation. I don't like the college kids right now. I think they're spoiled. I think the phrase snowflake. And I think that some of them are simply horrific people. I really believe this. I have no respect for Harvard. I have no respect for Columbia and NYU because of how they treat each other. They think that they know better. I've been changing my politics now. I've read, 1,000 books. I've been to 45 countries. I've been teaching and learning now for more than 35 years. And I'm changing. If I can change, why are they so sure that they're right and they're 19 years old? And I want you to add your skills and your understanding and the things that brought you to rooms like this to them. Because maybe you'll be able to open their minds. Because they need them opened right now.
So that's really an interesting point. So when you talk about words and what you do for a living, can words truly help to heal or bridge that generation gap, if you will, between the Gen Zers on campus and, say, the millennials, the boomers, the Gen Xers? How do you feel about that?
The biggest gap to me is not by age and it's not by gender. It's not by region or geography. It's by politics. I can tell. We were having a conversation about what network we watch. By applause, how many of you watch Fox News? By applause. Applause.
Such rule followers.
How many of you watch CNN? By applause. By the way, that's the problem with CNN. How many watch MSNBC? By applause. Thank you, comrade. MSNBC is the only news network, and you can see it here, with literally more letters in its name than viewers. So I told that joke on MSNBC Live.
Oh. Did it fall flat?
Not only did it fall flat, they fired me in 11 minutes. My father was so proud of me, he bought me a car. But we have to hear all sides. It's not the other side because there's more than two sides. And we have to, even if we don't appreciate it, even if we don't agree with it, we need to know. And the problem is we're getting our news to affirm us rather than inform us. So I don't hear any conservatives watching MSNBC. I don't hear any progressives watching Fox. And that's a problem for society. And it's going to continue to push us further and further away from each other.
Well, because at the end of the day, all we really want to hear is what we believe, right?
And we want to hear it by people who we think we agree with. And that's not what the news is about. And by the way, that's not what democracy is about. Because if we lose, and I'm going to show you it at some point, the highest value that Americans want more than anything else in this country is truth. And if we're not getting the truth about what's actually happening in this country, how are we supposed to operate in a democratic system? How do we know who we're voting for? How do we know what's actually happening in Washington or the state capitals? And I'm genuinely afraid of it. And I've been told by very important people to chill out and stop talking about this, because I have people who walk out of rooms like this depressed and upset. But that's how I am, because I do these focus groups. I hear these comments. I know what your kids are saying. I know how little they know. And yet they're so damn determined that they're right and you're wrong. And how they don't even know what the phrase "from the river to the sea" means, but they'll protest and threaten you. I know this because I talk to them. And that's why I teach at West Point. Because as bad as this is happening at other universities, oh my God, West Point is it's the savior of the country. West Point, the Naval Academy, I know we have a gentleman here whose daughter went to the Naval Academy. They're the second best academy. In fact, let me see if anyone understands this. Go Army. Beat Navy. Beat Navy.
Oh,
not
boy.
go Navy. Beat Navy. And that's the problem with our education system right there.
Oh, boy. Okay, let's dive in a little bit more. You've often said, as I said in the intro as well, it's not what you say, it's what people hear. So certain words hold more weight than others. And also, it's who's saying it that matters, correct?
That is correct. I can do a few if you want.
Sure.
Okay. So you notice I'm drinking a ton of cola, which I'm not supposed to do. What I like to do is a double espresso and a Coke Zero and a Diet Cream, because I really want to blow my mind every day that I'm getting up and drinking this. It is, for 1 hour, it is the best pickup other than crystal meth, but that's expensive. And the great thing about Coke Zero is it doesn't explode in your refrigerator unless you shake it. This right here used to be a carbonated beverage. Now it's a sparkling beverage, because carbonation suggests chemicals. Sparkling suggests a great taste. It used to be gambling, but people get addicted to gambling. So now it's gaming, because it's a much nicer, cleaner, better way to communicate the fact that people are still on heart and lung machines in wheelchairs, pulling the casino with a cigarette sticking in her mouth, and God help you if you try to kick her out of the slot machine, because she'll kill you. It used to be global warming. This is the one I regret. And now it's climate change. And in fact, another example of one that I'm working on right now is, I'm going to ask you all the question. One group says it's communicating sustainability. The other group says it's communicating cleaner, safer, and that's the problem of the sparkling beverage.
Carbonation.
Cleaner,
Not
safer,
sparkling.
healthier. Which do you think is better for America? Sustainability, cleaner, safer, healthier. Who says sustainability? Who says cleaner, safer, healthier? You're correct by 22 points. But the issue is the environmental community is still so angry at me that it doesn't adopt a new lexicon. Another example, because a lot of you are YPO, if you call something an estate tax, it's a tax on rich people. If you call it, yes, the death tax, this work that we did 25 years ago, that's a tax simply for dying. The death tax beats the estate tax by 2 to 1. If you talk about a government control of healthcare, people don't like it. If you talk about the government takeover of healthcare, people will stand up and absolutely oppose it, just by changing of a word. So I've been doing this now for 35 years, trying to figure out what words move people, but it's never to demonize. And I made this commitment in the 1990s. I support certain policies, I really do. But I do it in favor of policies rather than against policies. I do it in ways to explain and to educate and to inform. And I develop a skill in it and I enjoy it very much.
And you're so good at it. So let's talk a little bit more about not only where you get your news, how you get your news, but I'm really intrigued by that brain of yours and how you gain and gather your perspective. Like, what's at the core of all of that? When you start to formulate your words, and you are so eloquent in doing so, how do you gain that perspective? Or where?
I'm not elegant. I've had 2 strokes in the last 5 years, and I struggle as I sit in front of you. So I'm trying to, my head is moving faster than my mouth can. And I'm struggling to enunciate in ways that I used to be able to do so. I've had to slow it down. My head is as good as it's ever been, but it doesn't come out as well. So you say in that head of yours, I listen to you all. You have no idea how much I listen carefully, and I look at expressions. So I'm seeing you come up here, and you're literally taking your life into your hands with those shoes. If Hillary Clinton had those shoes, Bill Clinton would have been killed. And I try to see things that nobody sees. I try to hear things that nobody hears. And I have no fear in asking questions. That I can function in. And that's the curiosity that is so important that you teach your kids. And I learned this at a very young age. My parents made a commitment as a child, which is if I had a question, no matter when or where, they would seek to find an answer. And I've taken that with me for my entire life.
You and I talked a little bit beforehand about trust. And in terms of communication strategy, and there are a lot of CEOs here today, how can organizations rebuild a trust once they've lost it? And in terms specifically maybe of crisis communication, or if they've gone through something, a family business, there have been issues there?
I saw the CEO of Merrill Lynch destroy himself in a single interview by saying that the public did not understand that the CEO is supposed to have an office that represents what the CEO is and what the CEO does. And this is the moment, at the moment, people losing their homes, were losing their retirement savings. And they didn't give, I'm sorry for the language, but they didn't give a shit about the toilet and the fact that the toilet in the CEO's office cost $10,000. I'm not supposed to say names. It rhymes with Mark Twain. And he had the most tremendous respect until that point. But he didn't understand how angry people were. The CEO of General Motors, when they had the issue of the cars that kept stopping or starting or doing things that they're not supposed to do. What is every parent, what is their greatest fear? That their daughter takes the car and something goes wrong with the car. And they get stranded or worse. And she said, yes, I've been at this company for 25 years. I've held these positions before. But my first responsibility is as a mom. And everyone listening locked in on that. Because we know how moms think about their children and automobiles. So if she feels that way, she's on our side. That statement made such a difference. They asked Hillary Clinton, I'd love to show this to you. They asked Hillary Clinton, does she tell the truth? And her response was, well, I try to. I try. You either do or you don't. And stop. By the way, just for the record, this front row just agreed with she doesn't. Like I said to you, I'm listening to you right now. And clearly he knows Bill Clinton very well. There are answers and moments that you will destroy your career, and you have to be able to empathize with the people who are watching you to understand how they live their lives and how they relate to each other. And some people have it and some people don't. You ask me the question, how do you restore it? You have to look people straight in the eye. You see, I have no notes. It's one of the things I learned to do very early on. I want you to trust me, so I'm not going to read anything because I need you to see my eyes. It's hard to do it over here because you're sitting behind the podium. So basically, because this hurts my neck, so you guys are screwed. It's your fault. You chose to be in a place you can't see. By the way, these 3 seats right next to you, they're open. But you don't want to look at me, so I won't force you to do it. You have to be able to see people straight in the eye, number 1. Number 2 is they have to be your words, not somebody else's. Number 3 is that it's not an intellectual connection, it's emotional. Number 4 is that empathy has to be about where people are, not where you wish them to be. And number 5, it is not about the past or even about the present. It's how to make a better future. These are keys to reestablishing trust, and you'd be amazed at how difficult it is for companies that fail that.
That's a great point. So speaking of trust, how has the media's use of biased language, emotionally charged language, really shifted public trust in institutions? And what role do you think that word choice plays in terms of, let's say, polarization?
Okay, so this is the good place. Now, you're going to get to press with this, and I may need help with this because I don't know. I guess you have it. So what I want to do is the video. Okay. We had 5 cameras for each of these focus groups. It's up there right now. Look, these are the worst moments. I acknowledge that. But we were in Orlando. We were in Cleveland. I'll point out your fellow Ohioans momentarily. I want to show you enough of this that we can get to Phoenix, Arizona, because I want you to see what your parents or grandparents are saying and doing. But this is an accurate representation of how Americans have been. The earliest one here goes back to 2018, and the most recent one was done last year. So you're going to see several examples of focus groups, and you're going to see America unplugged as no one has seen before, because none of these were allowed on the air. Everything you're about to see now, the networks made the decision not to air it because it was so horrible. Let's roll it, and I'll tell you to pause at a certain moment.
They're fleeing their country. They're fleeing a war-torn country. They're coming in the right way because they're asking for asylum. They're asking for asylum. That is the right way. Yeah, but I'm not worried about an asylum seeker coming in trying to kill me.
Why do you lock your door at night?
Because I don't want to get my stuff stolen.
Okay.
I don't think
that is hypocrisy. That is hypocrisy. But when my friends come to my door and say, you know what?
Exactly. That's right. Exactly.
Excuse me, can I say something?
We have a responsibility to the international community.
It took 4 minutes for this to degenerate, and the group just came apart. Is this America?
Yes.
How many of you think this is America?
And you know why? Because
So both sides.
No, what's why is because you don't care about facts.
It's nothing to do with
It's happening right now.
Can I say something?
It's happening right now.
I know you care about emotion.
So act like adults and take turns instead of speaking over each other.
It's not like nobody's going to.
This is Cleveland.
We don't live. They want them dead. Period. It doesn't matter where our embassy is.
I feel like Donald Trump didn't do it for that reason. He doesn't like either one of those
in
parties.
parts of Israel, they have playgrounds in the schools underground because of Hamas rocket attacks.
He did that to start
They're constantly attacking them with rockets. And you think an embassy
Donald Trump did
that's the
nothing
only
to
thing
help
that
in the
infuriates them?
embassy is a symbology.
How do you make people
Pause it.
somebody wants to kill you?
Pause it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what Santa Claus does in the off season. I was so excited to meet him, but I hadn't been good enough that he gave me a toy. They're talking about the Middle East here. The first focus group was from Orlando, and they're just yelling at each other. We're going to go back to that group in a moment. Every single session from the summer of 2019 until I quit doing focus groups in the summer of 2021, I got sick of this. Every session, without exception, I just did not want to go anymore. It was so poisonous, and I could not stop people from chewing each other out. They've never met each other before. They see the cameras on them. And in each one of these cases, I said to them, your children are watching you. And their response back was, excellent. I want them to see that I fought for our beliefs, for our principles. This is a shit show. There's no better word for it. I want you to see a little bit more of it. Please continue.
Somebody that all they want to do is kill you. The reality, and that's what Hamas, they all they want to do is kill Israel and wipe Israel off the face of the earth. You cannot make the reality that move on.
This doesn't America. Yes.
It's falling apart.
God said to stand with Israel.
Oh my God.
But did God come tell you that? He didn't tell me.
But if you have a Christian president, that's what he's going to do. The reality is,
He's not a Christian. He's not a Christian because a Christian would not call country shithole country.
Listen, the reality of the
He's not a Christian. He's not a Christian. I'm a Christian and I'm offended that you would knock us together.
Your children are going to watch this. You think they're going to be proud? You think the American people are going to look in and say, this is constructive? This makes them feel... Then why are you doing it? Why are you yelling? Why are you yelling?
This is the way that America has become broken down.
Then be the change.
That's why we're doing it.
So?
And I'm trying to do it. I try to hold intelligent conversations.
I don't hear that. I hear you interrupting them.
You're raising your voice and talking over.
Excuse me, I'm talking. Thank you.
So even that...
How is that being an
I'm talking still. Yes, Frank, you're looking at me.
No, because I'm looking at both of you.
Okay.
Both of you are doing this. She's staring at you and wants to pick a fight with you. You want to pick a fight with her.
I want to speak intelligently.
But there's a difference between intelligent conversation and simply yelling.
There, right there's the problem.
No, it's not.
Right there. Your attitude is the problem.
My attitude?
Yes.
I don't want somebody telling me that my schools have to have prayer. The schools have to have prayer in school.
I didn't say that.
They did not before.
All I said
will always be prayer in school. Why?
All I said was God chooses the color of our skin. That's all I said. Now, if you don't believe that, then who's making the choices?
What if you don't believe in God?
Who's making the calls?
Don't believe in God. That's your choice. And we don't care.
Yes, you do, because you try and force it on everybody else.
No. You're making a lot of gross assumptions.
I'm not making gross assumptions.
You
I'm
are
looking
making
at
gross
Mike
assumptions.
Pence. I'm looking at Mike Pence, who signed anti-LGBT in Indiana.
So what?
I rest my case.
It all comes down to listening to what the other person has to say. Open up your ears and not your mouth and listen to what other people have to say, then weigh what's going on. They're all liars. They all lie.
Okay, then what do you think?
Everybody says about Trump being aggressive and brutal and all this stuff.
But you support...
How condescending was Obama?
But
I couldn't stand to watch that guy. He just looked down on top of everybody. Trump will get down in the dirt and work with you.
So
Obama
you
would never have
respect.
done that.
You want respect, but you have a president who takes on women, minorities, everything but white
and you know what?
males.
He won the election. And he won.
He didn't get
and
the
you guys
popular
can't
vote.
handle that.
He didn't
That's
get the popular
problem.
vote.
You can't handle it.
Did he get the popular vote?
It doesn't make any difference. Electoral college was put in place for that simple reason.
He won by the electoral, fair and square.
This
Okay.
isn't even about American...
Pause. You don't have to... This is it. You've seen it. This is what I went through every time you watch this on TV. And I just said, I can't do it anymore. And I stopped doing it for 9 months, and people kept calling, you have to go back out there. You have to show this. The problem was, instead of people learning from this so they don't do it in the future, what they were learning is how to behave. So instead of making things better, showing this to people actually made it worse, as people behave so horribly. So, I'm sorry. I feel awful about it. I never figured it out. I don't know what to do. I know something needs to be done because it's even worse right now.
Wow, that is so impactful, and I have a headache from watching that. I can only imagine how you felt. But listen, can you share an example when just a small change in language completely altered the public's perception of an issue?
You can actually see this in the movie Vice because I have a character who plays me. I was not that fat.
Oh, stop.
I looked at this guy, and I've never worn white sneakers ever. It's boring. My sneakers have something on them, some design, some reason to look at them. And one other thing is they have the character in the movie banging on the glass window. It's a one-way mirror. He looks into the mirror and goes like this. The reason why I never would have done that is that my focus group can see me because it's reflecting back on them. So if I did that, I'd be a moron. But the movie shows it because the person who directed it and wrote it did not understand that. The change between death tax, 39% of Americans want to eliminate the estate tax, 62% want to eliminate the death tax. It's the best example. A government control of healthcare has the support of about 25%. Government takeover of healthcare has the support of 13%. 2-to-1 difference. All these phrases I gave you, they really do make a difference. But we have to be careful with this because we cannot mislead, and most importantly, we cannot manipulate. So I'm going to want to show you some data in a moment, but let's do
Couple more questions. Sure. Absolutely. Okay, you've often said, as we know, it's not what you say, it's what people hear.
By the way, that is not a good look. Can you?
You don't want the screen?
Thank you.
There we are. I'm that.
Looking at me, and I'm thinking, who is that fat asshole?
Oh, I did not think. No one thought that. No one thought that. Okay, here's your next question. What do you think that voters heard when Kamala Harris spoke, especially during pivotal moments like the debate and some of the major speeches that she gave? And what do you think Kamala's communication style conveyed to the average American voter?
Okay, I don't know if you know what I'm going to say here, but the reason why I wanted to come to Ohio is I want to know. A president would never lie, correct? How many dogs and cats were eaten in Springfield? It is true? I know it's true. So I will actually stay overnight. Will you take me to, by the way, her husband just poked her right there. He's like, don't. So we need to go to Springfield. I want to see the dogs and cats. I want to know, are they the smaller breeds or the larger ones? Is it sweet and sour? Do they use teriyaki? Is she really your wife? Oh, she used to be. Okay. I can't wait for the drive home tonight.
All right, so back to Kamala.
I think it's important when we get something wrong. And I want to acknowledge something that was significant. I thought there was no way that Donald Trump was going to win the election because of his debate performance. It was atrocious. She knew how to push his buttons. She knew how to get him to react, and boy, did he ever. He had a great case to make. Joe Biden is so old, it takes him an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes. Joe Biden is so old, his favorite painting is The Last Supper. He's in it. By the way, I'm going to keep on going until you actually laugh. Joe Biden is so old, the only time he doesn't have to pee is when he's actually peeing.
There was a lot of laughter.
Joe Biden is so old, he calls himself a constitutionalist. He was in the room when they wrote the document. By the way, to keep this fair, so you never say that I'm biased, I was with Trump December 23rd, 2020. His last White House event. It was the Christmas party. And I finally got the guts to go up and ask him, what does the J in Donald J. Trump stand for? You know what he told me? Genius.
Okay.
That one always kills. I told him that joke. Now, this is real. When you get an offer to go to the Oval Office, you go. I don't care what it is, you go. It's your country. It's so important. And I was offered the chance to have lunch with him. And I was surprised at how aware he was, at how detailed he was, at how engaged he was on policy. And what was supposed to be a 45-minute gathering, I was supposed to be in and out, went almost 2 hours because he wanted to know the stuff that I knew. And I walked out of there thinking, wow, I really misjudged him. So he invited me to ride on Air Force One. And I will also need to admit that I brought a completely empty suitcase and I stole everything that wasn't nailed down. I have glasses, I have cutlery, I have napkins, I have soap that has this is, by the way, you're laughing, this is not a joke, this is true. I finally had to stop. I tried to get one of the flight attendants to give me her uniform, and they decided that that was a little bit too much. But if you come to my home in LA, the entire home is decked out in Air Force One stuff that I took in the suitcase.
That's great.
Where
were we?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to remember where we were.
What question?
What was I telling you?
We're talking about Kamala. No.
Oh, she killed him. She destroyed him. But she never did something. I need to do this. By the way, as I said to you, I have an issue, but I'm going to get up.
Oh, that's fine.
She never told us what she was going to do in the first hour of her presidency. She never told us about the first day, the first week, the first month. She was beating him by 5 points. She was down by, Biden was down by 6. He was coming apart because of his horrific debate performance, and it was exactly that. It was embarrassing. And to this day, we have to wonder why we weren't being told the truth about his real health, his real capabilities, because that was abysmal. After the Democratic convention, after the debate, she was crushing him. But on very simple questions, if you remember, she was interviewed by Dana Bash at CNN. She was interviewed by Bret Baier on Fox News. These are all disasters. She wouldn't go on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's program with Donald Trump is seen by 41 million people, and she says, I'll only go on if he comes and interviews me in Washington. Do you know Joe Rogan? He doesn't leave Austin. She says, I'll only do an hour for him. Do you know Joe Rogan? His podcast can last 3 or 4 hours. She says, I'm not going to answer questions on certain issues. Do you know Joe Rogan? He insists on being able to ask anything. 41 million people watched it on his website. Another 12 million on other websites. Donald Trump got it. He went to the places that voters lived. He went to the places that people wanted to hear him, and she didn't. So she ran a horrible campaign. But she had one last interview, and I was even on CNN a couple days before talking about this. What she needed to do was say to Anderson Cooper, people have been telling me that they don't know what I will do. And that's my fault. I should have been more expressive. So Anderson, I'm not going to answer your questions. I'm going to answer their questions to the town hall. So if you allow me, Anderson, give me 5 minutes. Here's what I'm going to do in the first hour. And the first thing she would have done is cancel the lunch that you have with members of Congress, because that's not important. Bring the cameras in, sit down, and begin to map out the things that need to change for, number one, the costs of food, fuel, automobiles, housing, and healthcare. That was the number one issue. And the number two issue was immigration, how we get control of our border. Then she does the first day. Then she'll start to do the first week, run out of time. He'll interrupt her and say, I've got questions. And then she says to the audience, you have a choice right now. I've only told you up to the first day. I want to say the first week and the first month. But I can answer his questions or I can answer yours. What do you want me to do? What would have happened? The entire audience would have booed Anderson Cooper off the stage, and then she could have responded with her agenda. And instead, all she did was criticize Trump. Well, guess what? We all know everything about Donald Trump there is to know. The good, the bad, the ugly, the positive, the negative, everything. There were no opinion shifts of Donald Trump during the entire campaign. There were absolutely opinion shifts about her. But she never gave voters the reason to vote for her, so of course they didn't do it. Of course he beat her. And don't make this as a judgment. I don't have a better phrase than this. I'm not calling him this. They voted for the devil they knew rather than the devil they didn't. And they had every right to do this. It was actually a proper vote based on what she had not done. And in the end, where did he do particularly well? Latino voters. They had voted Democrat for their entire lives, and they switched, particularly Latino men, voted for Trump. A plurality voted for Trump for the first time in American politics, number one. Number two is young African-American men who were 90% supporters of the Democratic Party, not this time, because they didn't feel that she spoke to them. And the group that had an impact on this state, on Michigan, on Wisconsin, and particularly Pennsylvania, union members, rank and file, who felt that she didn't care about them. And Trump stood by them and for them, whether it's the police, the fire, different groups. By the way, if that's your phone ring, you need to give your phone to your kids to make it better. And in fact, whose phone was that? Okay, she's pointing to him. By the way,
He did. He was the door prize.
Is it this guy right here? Sir, she's dangerous. You got a policeman back there. You better get her arrested, because she's going to, that crystal meth lab in your basement, she's going to expose you. Please give your phone to your grandkids and ask them to change it to play that funky music, White Boy. I promise when that goes off in church, everyone's going to want to know who that man is and how you got that phone to play that song. Things happen for a reason, and she never gave people a reason to vote for her. So for those of you, and I believe this is a Trump crowd, but not overwhelmingly a Trump crowd, you should be mad as hell at her. And if she runs for governor of California, I feel sorry for them, because she failed when she ran for president in 2020, and she will fail in 2024, and she will fail again in California. I stand up because I want you to understand that this is not a partisan answer. She didn't do what we have the right to expect of every presidential candidate. And because she didn't do it, she lost. But I still want to see those dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio.
Thank you for that. That's an excellent explanation. You might have a consulting gig, though, with Kamala on the word salad thing.
Oh, God help me and her.
No, listen. Okay, I have one more question, and I think we should open it up to the audience. We really need to bring you into the conversation for sure. But because we have a business audience, could you explain how they and all of our communication styles really impact our leadership within an organization? And is there a nugget that you can give us that says, okay, we're having issues with our employees, how can we better communicate?
Yes, I want to go to the PowerPoint. And you guys can take pictures of it if you want. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to try to go through this. Let's get to the right slide. I have a list of words for you that I put this together because I wanted you to find this. I wanted to do something that's helpful, and it's right here. These are the language that you all should be using, and if you want to take a picture of it, I invite you to do so. Imagine is the most powerful word in the English language, because when you ask people to imagine what we can do for you. Imagine our service. Imagine our products. Imagine the impact of this company. So you've got Key. Imagine how KeyBank changes every community that we serve. When you ask them to imagine, they actually see it. Peace of mind, because it's not security. Security means, and we have security right here. By the way, I do want to do this because I never get a chance to do this. You have a gentleman from the Toledo Police Department. Sir, you're standing back there. I wish you would take a seat because you don't need to stand. I want to thank you for your service to the community. So here's what's funny. The guy that's leaving thinks I was thanking him. So he stopped and he's waving to you guys. And actually, I don't care that he's leaving. I want to make sure that our men and women in blue are recognized and appreciated for what they do. Nothing matters more in your business than accountability. They need to know that that what you do is more efficient, more effective, and more accountable. Efficient, so you do more with less. Effective, so everything that you do works. And accountable, so you'll admit that you make mistakes. Mutual respect, it's not DEI. You may or may not agree with what the Trump administration says about DEI. I will tell you that in every community, mutual respect matters more. What they're asking for is for you to be valued and appreciated and seen. This whole thing about diversity, equity, and inclusion is not the priority of the communities that are supposedly being targeted to help. Respect is the most important value. You give it, so you will receive it, and it's something that we should be doing every single day. A meaningful, measurable track record of success. Meaningful, so that it matters. Measurable, so that you can actually see it statistically. Track record in good times and bad, and success because they want to know that you do your job well. Every business should have that as their watchword. Every business should be focused on that language. Want, need, and deserve is how you get 3 different bites at the same issue. I'll give you an example with healthcare. The choice and control you want, the affordability you need, the quality you deserved, delivered by the doctors and hospitals you trust. That is exactly what the public is asking for in healthcare, but they don't feel like the politicians are doing it. I'll do one more that's up there, which is fact-based. I hear evidence-based all the time, and the problem with evidence is that it sounds like it's a court case. Who's a lawyer here? Raise your hands if you're a lawyer. There's not a single lawyer in this room? We got one lawyer in the very back. Sir, get out. There's a reason why lawyers are not trusted. A fact is not open to interpretation. A fact is something meaningful and measurable, and that's what they want from you in the business community. So feel free to apply all those words, because that's how you establish trust that you asked for, and that's how you ensure that you get the credibility that you deserve. Shall we go out?
Let's do it. Let's bring in the audience now. Angie is going to be walking around with a microphone, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. Here, over here at the opposite side. Oh, here we go. We've got 2 microphones.
Well, thank you for coming, and welcome to Toledo, Frank. We're happy you're here, and appreciate the opportunity to learn from your wisdom and experience. So one of the mysteries to me has been the ability of our President Trump to win supporters, in spite of some of the language he chooses to use. For example, I was listening to the address to Congress, and I'm the greatest president since George Washington, and I would think that those words are normally a turnoff. And so I'm curious what your interpretation. What makes him what's he doing communication-wise that makes him so popular with such a large group?
Because he's authentic. And that is both good and bad. But you know that he's saying to you what he's thinking at that moment. And politicians don't do that, and haven't done that for a long time, most politicians. And that Trump, to them, represents someone, now he's a billionaire, and yet they see that he understands they themselves. And the language that Trump used, and this is what blew me away, because I also thought back in 2016, after the tape was released, when he said those comments about women, I didn't know how he was going to survive. And to my surprise, I had women after women in sessions in West Virginia, in Georgia, I'm trying to give the specific places, in St. Louis, in Nevada, Las Vegas, who said to me, "That's how my brother speaks. That's how my father speaks." It sounds awful, but that's the language I hear in the locker room. And he never apologizes. So these voters listen to this and they think he's authentic. And then the phrase that you used moments ago, word salad. She does that every time she doesn't want to communicate. If you're mad about the outcome in 2024, don't be mad at Donald Trump, because he's just what he is. Be mad at the Democrats for nominating her when she was the worst possible candidate to be running against him. And I'll give you 3 alternatives for you to look them up. Number 1 is the gentleman who did the 25-hour speech,
No,
Cory Booker.
Cory Booker. I saw your comments on him.
He's suddenly a leading candidate for 2028. Second is the governor of Maryland, who's already handled his own crisis and exceeded expectations, Wes Moore, a military guy as well. Also, the former lieutenant governor of Louisiana and mayor of New Orleans, who shepherded his city through the hurricane and the levees breaking, Mitch Landrieu. These are great communicators. These are people who understand the heart and soul of the country, and they know how to communicate. They know how to speak it. They would give Trump a hard time. There's no word salad about them. They're very clear about what they want. And one more thing, so I can now upset the other side. Donald Trump's agenda is America's agenda. They want lower taxes. They want less wasteful Washington spending. They want the border safe. They want immigration, illegal immigration ended. The stuff that he's talking about is stuff that they want done. They just don't want it done the way he's doing it. They just don't want the meanness. They want a scalpel, not a chainsaw, and someone needs to explain this to Elon Musk, because he went from the most popular businessman in America, actually second to Buffett, to hated in this country because of how he talks. And that's the proof. You were asking me several times about the impact of words and language that we choose. You want me to give you the positive. I'm showing you the negative. Elon was so trusted. He could have made such a difference. And instead he's come across as a really mean guy. He is Smithers from The Simpsons. And he didn't have to be. He could have been Marge.
Can he shift it? Can that change?
He doesn't choose to.
Public opinion?
He doesn't want to. It's not a priority for him. By the way, I'm going to pull one more thing up while this is up there, just so you can see words to stop using and words that are better. Another question, all the way in the back.
I appreciated your comments about Trump's authenticity, and so I want to talk about his style and not his content. So the authentic way that Trump communicates is really tricky as leaders, because he talks for a long time, so he's not short and pithy, and he doesn't get into a lot of details. And so I think about myself as a leader and how if I were to adopt like the same sort of authentic style, it would it's hard. So I'm curious.
It's not hard. It's wrong. Don't do it, because there's only one Donald Trump. And by the way, for someone so popular, it didn't work on 2 of his 3 wives, and it almost didn't work on the 3rd wife either. So don't be that way.
So what should politicians on both sides take from his success and adopt from a speaking style perspective, and then we can leave the rest behind?
That's a great question, because I'm not sure that they should take anything from it. And let me explain why. This is not a judgment of him. This is a judgment of America. Why is it that we can't listen to people who disagree with us anymore? Why is it that we become so outraged when we hear something that we don't think is correct? his speaking style leads to that, but he did say something correct when he pointed to the Democrats and said, I could cure cancer and you're still going to boo me. At that moment, America looked at their TVs and said, you know what? It's true. And what do we have the Democrats doing? We got the Congressman Al Green, and I love Al Green, the musician. In fact, sir, change your ring to one of Al Green's Let's Stay Together. Is that your wife next to you? By the way, she's going. Good luck tonight. You know, this is a hotel. Anyway. I can't believe I just said that. He did capture the mood. And what did the Democrats do in response? They held up those ping pong paddles with stupid slogans on them. They're children, and they deserve to be treated as children. We need to cut this out. He was chewing them out from the stage, from the world stage. That ain't good. Them protesting him the way that they did, that ain't good either. And if you don't care about the rest of the world, your kids are watching, and they're behaving horribly. In junior high and in elementary school, there's a record amount of bullying. And the combination of seeing global leaders behave as badly as they do, and social media that delivers it right into your homes every day, we're destroying the fabric of this society. So I don't care whether he's successful or not. There are things that are more important than an election. There are things more important than communication. This is the soul of our country at stake. And I want us to be the way we used to. I don't want us to go back, because there's a lot of stuff we should get rid of. But this is a great state. Ohio was the center of the country. You had urban areas, suburban areas, rural areas, and people loved each other. When I drove across the country, it was 1984, I just graduated from Penn, and a car broke down in Columbus, and there were black people pushing it, there were white people pushing it, there were women pushing it. We all got out of our vehicles, and we all helped. It was the most amazing example of humanity in 1984. I don't know if we would do that today, and that's the problem. So please, sir, don't copy anything he does, even if it works for him, because it won't work for America. Do you agree or disagree with me?
This has been awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I'm very confused.
By the way, everyone, this is my brother.
I'm extremely confused. Okay, so
I am not related to him.
Words matter. Okay, you've made a career on this, and rightly so. Grab him by the hoo-ha. Great. Sounds like my brother. That works. It's authentic. Great. Elon Musk has a whole lot of, equity built in, not only financially in the company, but in the country, but he's done great things. He comes in there. He speaks, unfiltered, based on his Asperger's, but also, he's unfiltered. How do you get more authentic than whatever comes out of his mouth? That doesn't work, for him. We're tearing apart the fabric of America. Is Cory Booker going to stand up there and speak like that? I mean, how do you counter that? If this keeps winning, how do you cool it down? I mean, if you're tearing apart the fabric of America, how do you get back to normalcy?
The church has a role, because on Sundays we behave differently, or for the Jewish community Saturdays, Muslim community Saturdays. We behave differently that way. And faith, I find to be a positive impact on how people behave and on society. We asked the news media, which is I'm going to actually ask you to answer this question too. I did an interview today with Associated Press on what's happening with immigration. And I said to the reporter, because she kept asking me, what if this backfires? What if this doesn't happen? What if Trump fails here or here? And I said, why are you doing this? This is the area where he's supported. This is the area where the public says, do more, go further. Even if someone was mistakenly deported, as they were, Americans don't want him back. They don't want to spend the money to send a plane to bring the guy back. There are other areas to focus on. My answer, okay, that's true. But that's what makes America great, is that on every single issue, we have people on both sides who are passionate. What used to be the case is that we would talk it out, and elections would determine it, and we could respect each other's point of view. We agree to disagree, and we go bowling together, and we play tennis together. We go out. Y'all keep telling me that there are great golf courses around here. You play golf together. By the way, I will tell you, Donald Trump absolutely cheats at golf. Without a question. He's 79 years old, and he's still winning all his course championships. Trump's won them all. He's never lost a championship. And by the way, Tiger Woods plays on this course, and Phil Mickelson plays on this course, and Greg Norman plays. These great golfers. Why does Donald Trump win every single golf match without exception? Why, I ask you? No, I think it's because he's eating the dogs and cats that gives him great strength. So my answer to you is, I don't know if we can get it back. And I'm not supposed to say that to you because I'm not supposed to depress you. But she's the answer to this. Because in the end, the media either will hold them accountable and will try to find a way not to be participants in the debate because we don't want them. We want them to tell us the truth and nothing more. Not their opinion. We want to know what's really going on. Is the media, now I get to turn the tables, is the media up to that task or not?
I don't like my own industry right now at all. I don't know that we are. I think it's so divisive right now. I don't feel it. I feel like people pick a side. It is no longer, as you said, an honest, open interview. It's op-ed. It's all opinion editorial. And I don't know how we get away from that. I don't know how we break that.
And that's how we get our information. So if we're going to stand up and say enough, we have to know what to stand up and say enough to. And we don't. The other thing I'll say is I'm told your schools here are okay. Schools in most parts of America are not okay. If you give your public school system an A, raise your hands. An A. Who give them a B? Who give them a C? Who give them a D? Who give them an F? The people give them an F, you need to fight. Because if our kids graduate when they can't read the diplomas that they're given, if they can't balance their checkbooks, if they can't function in American society, the skills that are necessary isn't just English, it's not just math. Problem solving, critical thinking, and team building. And if they're not taught that, they're not going to succeed in the world of the 21st century. And it's a real problem for us. Who's next?
Hi. I am actually a high school student myself. And I just have a question. You were talking in the beginning about college students and how they're snowflakes. I'm not in college yet, but...
Be thankful.
I just want to know your advice on how to not be a snowflake in college, because I want to go in there and I want to actually learn something and go into the world and actually do something with my life and not be a snowflake.
My best friends completely disagree with me for my entire life. My best friends thought I was an idiot, but they didn't. But they thought my politics. I was a conservative Republican, and almost all my friends were Democrats. That's number one, is I was surrounded by people who gave me a hard time when we were drunk, not just when we were sober. I had really good, by the way, I was stoned a lot in my college years, and we had conversations that would go on for 3 or 4 hours about everything. We couldn't wait to sit down. It's 11 o'clock, and they're all gathering in my room. I'm proud of this. I had the room my sophomore year and my senior year. And we came together, and we sat around, and we smoked, and we talked and talked and talked, and we never divided. We never found any reason to shout out in an event like this. No reason at all, because we felt heard and appreciated. And the best thing you can do is have friends who don't agree with you, so you don't live in an echo chamber. And to find professors who will teach you about things that you don't know about and things you disagree with, which is really problematic because there aren't conservative professors anymore at these universities. I stopped teaching at Penn because it was becoming so ridiculously ideological, and I quit at USC having raised them $2 million for their foundation because they were giving me 16 or 17 students per class, and they'd only give me one Republican. And I said, if that's really how biased your university is, I don't want to be here. And if that's who you're giving me, I don't want those students. I need a debate. I need a discussion. I need people to be able to be challenged in what they think. And I want them to be curious. And the final straw for me, I asked them who they want to come speak. I was teaching a class in Washington, D.C., and I asked them to give me a list of 10 senators. They can go through the book, give me a list of 10 senators they wanted to hear from. Every single senator was a Democrat. And I said, this is not the university environment that I want to be involved with. I know I don't want to fight them. No, I can't teach if you just give me a single ideology. I don't know how to. So your students you hang out with, the professors who teach you, and finally pick a subject that you really want to know, but you know nothing about. And if I had my chance, I would have learned architecture. And this is not because, or I used to say I would have been a marine biologist. What is marine biologist? What is that from? Yes, yes. Okay, Toledo, you rock. This is so good. Anyone who knows Seinfeld, I'm going to relate to. Pick that field and study it. And that will give you it'll satisfy your curiosity and it'll give you a great life. Is that enough? Do you need me to go further? Is that enough of an answer? You're a student, so I absolutely want to satisfy your question. Did I do so? Thank you. By the way, I didn't because she only believes so. She didn't say, yes, you did. But I'm a word guy, so that's... So I don't know how long you want to keep doing this, but I'll do this for however long you want.
A few more, yes.
Thanks a lot. I'm 70 years old. The country is only, say, 250 years old, so I've lived 1/3 of my life in this country.
And you've only lived half the life of Joe Biden.
Well, that's no comment. I think about how fast it's changed in my 70 years. And I think about a government that was formed 250 years ago with white wigs and muskets. Okay, and when now I look today and I wonder about the thought of a right and a left when these things are so complex and integrated. I wonder, I'm interested in your thoughts on the ability of our government and this world to be able to manage this complexity and this integrated nature of our world today.
Okay, simple question for you all. Somebody has to regulate social media and AI. Do you want the government to do it? Do you want the private sector to do it? You have to vote, because this is going to come up right now within the next 12 months. Who should be regulating the future of all of this that is going to affect everyone in this room and all of our family members? Who'd rather have government regulating AI? Raise your hands. Okay, we got two government people right here. Who'd rather have the private sector regulating it? So I know how you feel about this, but for the three of you, do you realize that your community doesn't agree with you? I'm not asking you to argue with them, but do you accept it? So here's the problem, is that those who don't agree dismiss everyone that they disagree with, and that's a problem. Sir, I don't know, just maybe our democracy is not suited to to social media. Remember, we're not actually a democracy. We are a republic. And we're a republic for a reason. And Ben Franklin talked about this and wrote about this at the Continental Congress. We are a republic because we were afraid of direct democracy and what mob rule could do. And it eventually happened with Andrew Jackson in 1828. When he got elected, mobs ran through Washington, D.C. and forced changes. And I think that a little bit of what's going on right now isn't about FDR and changing the government. I think it's a little bit of Andrew Jackson and just real grassroots populism that's generated because the public is fed up with Washington not doing anything. I'm sure that 30% of you are Democrats in this room. I wonder how you defend knowing that we had a crisis at the border, knowing that it was getting worse, and the president was unwilling to do anything substantial about it. I wonder, knowing that probably 70% of you voted for Donald Trump, how you feel about the way he talks about his enemies or his opponents, because they're not enemies until he defines them that way, and whether you think this is something you want your children to hear. Do you want your children to talk to you the way that Donald Trump publicly talks about the people he doesn't like? Would you be happy with that? What we would not want, by the way, a West Point cadet cannot lie, cheat, or steal. Based on my knowledge of the president, and I have to be careful about what I say, he couldn't be a West Point cadet, but he could be president of the United States. This is what I'm asking of you, and what I'm praying that you'll realize is that I don't have a good answer for you, because just maybe there is no answer. Just maybe this AI and this social media are moving so fast that we've lost our representative democracy, we've lost the elements of a republic, and that it's leading to mob rule. I don't know, but I believe it's possible. So at a minimum, let us teach respect and civility and decency. So at a minimum, as we deal with these problems, or fail to deal with them, at least we respect each other. Next.
I want to talk about the family unit a little bit. So as we think about the kids today, the next generation, call it, and Facebook, I'm not on it. Instagram, I have no idea what it is. Snapchat, it's just a catchphrase to me. So when our kids look at what their next kind of chapter in life are, what should we be talking with our kids about so they don't get caught into the current mainstream of what the media is telling them?
Who's a mom here? Who's a mom of a kid between the ages of 10, let's say 9 and 18? I got an answer for the two of you. Get your kids off social media right now. And you can't say, I can't do it, because they're going to get addicted to it. The single hardest focus group I did, because everyone was crying, including me, was moms telling me that their kids had ceased to be members of the family. They were so addicted, they had to see what people were talking to them about on Instagram, which is a real problem. For boys, it's YouTube. For women, it's Instagram. And they were being bullied and beaten up, and yet they still had to see how many likes they had, how many friends they had on social media, because that's not a friend. And when I said to the moms, well, why didn't you get your kids off of it? They said that their daughters particularly would not. And they would fight them, and they'd even be willing to lose their phones for the ability to stay connected on their computers. I don't have an answer for you, because parents aren't doing what they need to do to ensure that their kids don't leave them emotionally, physically, and mentally. And by the way, I hate doing this, because you're going to walk out of here feeling awful, and that's not cool. It really isn't. But I'm telling you what I see every day and why it's so hard for me to function, because I can give advice based on what I know works. The problem is it's so depressing for them, because they feel under such pressure. And so I want to give moms a break. I want them to be told this is the best job. You got the most important job. It's number one. There's nothing better. And I want them to have the respect. But I need them to make those tough decisions because I know what the consequences are if they don't.
Yes, we have one more.
I have a question. Are there any words that can be used to bring some issues back into the public debate that everyone's avoiding? Things like, we used to talk about Social Security reform, no one wants to talk about it, Medicare, Medicaid, because we talk about a lot of issues with waste, and I know that that's the hot button, but we're not talking about 85% of the money.
In terms of Social Security, you have to show them, which is the person who worked all their lives, did exactly what they were supposed to do, paid their taxes, worked 2 jobs, sacrificed for their families, and now there's a question whether Social Security will exist for them. And when we look at the numbers, we know the numbers are really bad. But we know that they're bad because politicians kept raising it, trying to buy voters off, and they succeeded. And the stake of that, by the way, I'm trying to look around your head, so if you see me, keep doing this, because I need to look you straight in the eye. We have to bring those people into the picture themselves. It's the only way we're going to have this conversation. And it's not to win the next election. Democrats are doing this. They're focused on Social Security, but they're trying to score political points. It's not about politics. It is about people. And each of these issues can be dealt with. For example, with Social Security, why should someone at the age of 25 have to go into the same program and they haven't worked, so they're never going to see it? More people believe in the existence of UFOs than believe Social Security will exist by the time they retire. It's a real number. We know we can make changes to the system, but every time we try to do it, someone politicizes it. Republicans sound like they want to cut it. Democrats sound like they want to bankrupt it. And they're both wrong. Do it together, Republican and Democrat. Raise the exemption and raise the retirement age. You do them both together, Social Security survives. You do them both together, both sides get punished. So you remove the political advantage. But you do one or the other, and someone gets destroyed, and that's not, means it won't get talked about. These questions are great. Your interview was very much appreciated.
Thank you.
I apologize, but don't. I can't live with myself anymore. I need to have these conversations. I need to challenge people who are so convinced that Trump is God's gift. I need to challenge you. But those people who are critical of him, I need to challenge you all also. Because your children and your grandchildren are watching. And because this is still the best effing country ever created. And it's worth fighting for. But the only way you fight for it is to tell the truth. And to bring public opinion to organizations like this. Thank you for doing it. By the way, you'll probably question whether you do it next year, because I'm sure that depressing people is not good for you all. But YPO, you tell the truth. You deal with things in a straightforward way. And I tried to do that. And your interview was wonderful. I thank you for it. You asked me tough questions. You never tried to embarrass me. I hold it against you for finding that awful spot of me up there and holding it. So I'm looking up there going, Jesus, I'm fat, but I've gotten fatter since then.
Stop.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Huge thank you, Dr. Frank Luntz.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I do want to take a moment to thank Frank for coming. We very much appreciate. I understand you've got a flight to catch because you have a media tour with the cadets tomorrow.
My cadets are having the chance to interview Steve Kroft, who for 25 years was a host of 60 Minutes. They get a chance to see the CEO of Twitter to challenge her on social media. They get a chance to meet with Al Roker. They get a chance to understand why the weatherman is always wrong.
And keeps his job.
Yes, well, thank you. We appreciate you making time and coming out. We appreciate the insightful discussion and pushing us to think further. We really appreciate what you're giving back to the cadets. I mean, that's an amazing thing. Can we give Frank another round of applause for that? We have an amazing Army ROTC program at the University of Toledo if you ever wanted to support any other ones. But yeah, so thank you everyone for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Hope y'all have a wonderful evening.